everybody, and welcome to the All About Health podcast. My name is Georgia Overbeck, and I'm your host. Welcome to today's episode where I'm going to be doing a get to know me episode. I went to Google and searched in get to know me questions, and I found so many, like hundreds of questions. I'm not going to be going through them all today because that would be a very long episode, but if you want maybe a part 2 or maybe to have a guest on the next one, maybe one of my sisters or my parents, I think that would be really fun. I'm going to link the website where I found all these questions down below, so if you want to play this game with your friends or your family and get to know each other better, then you can. And so the reason that I'm doing this episode is because next month in September is going to be the All About Health podcast 1 year anniversary. I started the podcast originally on YouTube because I didn't know how to get the podcast on other streaming platforms, and so I thought that would be really cool that I started the podcast on YouTube because that's all I knew how to do at the time. And I never really ended up making a episode kind of get to know me. I do a lot of content obviously around my life, but these are going to be more specific questions and ways to get to know me, and it's kind of going to be like a friendship one-on-one chat, and I'm just really excited for it. But before we get into the episode, we have our weekly segment, which is the weekly recap. And the first thing that I want to mention is, over the weekend, we were a little bit busier in the mornings, and so I didn't have a chance to go for my morning run as I usually would. And so it was around 3:30, we were coming home from getting groceries, and I was like, I still want to go for my run to get my steps. And so I went for my run at around 4 p.m. until 5 p.m., and it was such a beautiful time of day to go for a run. I haven't ran in the evenings in so long. And so that's the first thing I wanted to mention in this recap, is that evening running, if you have not done that in a long time, is so nice. The weather's a little bit cooler. There's a lot of other people that are usually out for their evening walks, and so you can see cute dogs if they're out for a walk, or just see other people in your neighborhood. And it just was beautiful. I loved it. And so I'm not going to go for an evening run all the time, but I did go for an evening run around 3 times this week, and I loved it. And so that is the first thing that I wanted to mention. Next is that I started reading a new book. I finished the Tony Robbins Awaken the Giant Within book over the weekend, and I started a new one called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think by Brianna Wiest. I originally saw this book on Pinterest because it's a very aesthetic book, I guess you could say. Like, if you go on Pinterest and you search in book aesthetic, it's always gonna be there with like a cup of coffee and a MacBook and that like aesthetic photo, you know? And so I had saved it many times, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to read this book eventually. And then when we were in, where were we? Victoria, in July, we went to a bookstore, and I actually ended up picking it up there. And I was like, maybe it'll be good, maybe it's okay, like it's just one of those books that are gone big because of social media. But I started reading it this week, and it is so good. Like, it's so different from the other self-help books that I've read, but in such a cool way. Like, I feel it relates so much more to me. Often when I read self-help books, it's very, I don't know how to say it, but they feel like they're for people that are older than I am, or that are a different life stage than I am, which I still think it's great to read those, and I still do, because I think it's good to kind of prepare for the future and also learn from people who are in different stages of life than you are. But this book, the 101 Essays one, I feel like has been written for early 20-year-olds and just people that are more in my situation. Like, it's so good, and I've been loving this book, and I definitely am going to reread it again because there's so much good information in there. And so if you've never read the book and you want to, I definitely recommend picking it up and reading it, and it's been so good so far. I'm almost halfway through, and it's already one of my favorite books that I have read this year. And the last thing that I wanted to mention in this weekly recap is that I did some deep cleaning on Sunday for the first time in a couple of months. And I made a whole YouTube video on it about my deep cleaning and everything. And that may be a little bit embarrassing that I haven't done like a deep clean or a good clean in these areas this whole time that we've been here. But I said in the video that it's never too late and there's always time to clean. And so I deep cleaned my office and then my bathroom and the kitchen a little bit, and it just felt so good getting everything organized and cleaned and put away. And so this is your sign that even if you don't want to do a whole deep clean, just cleaning up your space a little bit and making it more put together feels so good and you feel so accomplished after. I would say that it didn't even take that long, like maybe an hour at the most, because I guess it wasn't super messy already. But definitely, if you have not done a deep clean or a good clean of your space recently, I would recommend to do so. All right, now let's get into the episode talking about Get to Know Me and some questions that I have. So I have a few different categories, I guess you could say. First are basic questions, good questions, fun questions, great questions, interesting questions, job-related questions, and then deep questions. And these, again, were all found on a website article that I found, which is going to be linked down below. I'm going to start off with the basic questions. Starting off with number one, I think the most basic question of them all: what is your favorite color? So my favorite color is, I would have to say, blue. I really love anything that is pastel though. Like I really like light blue, light pink, yellow, purple, like any of those. I really love light pastel tones. I would say that obviously with my coastal grandmother style, I really like whites. I like navy. I like some browns. So kind of, I guess anything in that realm, either pastels or like coastal grandmother color aesthetic. I also, this is really going everywhere, but that's me. I also really like green, like if you think of a deep forest green, the color of when you're in the forest. I like that. Question number two is, what is your favorite animal? My favorite animal is anything that is in a cat family. So whether it's a basic household cat or a lion or a tiger or a jaguar or a cheetah, anything along those lines. I love cats so much, and I'm going to talk about that more in the next question, which is, do you have any pets? I currently do not have any pets, unfortunately. I've had many cats and I've had a dog in my life, but right now we don't have any pets because obviously we are only renting and we are moving quite often. I am hoping to get a cat, maybe two, probably two, in the next year, and that's gonna be so exciting because I haven't had, well, as a family, we haven't had a pet since 2021, and I think it's just gonna be really fun going through that process of getting pets again. Next, I'm gonna move on to the good questions. Fun question number two is, have you ever met a celebrity? I have, and it's been especially over the last couple of years since we left Ontario. In Hawaii, we met quite a few celebrities, including Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, Jay Hernandez, Jason Momoa. I'm trying to think, there have been more. Oh, BB Rexa. And they were all very nice. I feel like there were more that are not coming to my head, but those are some that I have met. It was really cool because when we were in Hawaii, we actually had the opportunity to go to a live taping of American Idol, because every season they go to the Disney resort in Hawaii on Oahu, and we were there. And so we were like, you know what, why don't we try and get into the audience of American Idol? And we actually ended up meeting Katy Perry on the beach that day before the taping was happening, and she was like, do you guys want to be my guests for American Idol? We had been talking for quite a while before that, and we were like, yes, of course. And so it was so cool. We got to see the top 12 or 24 perform, and it was awesome. It was so great, and Katy Perry is so nice. Next, explain an inside joke you have with a friend or family member. Now, the first one that comes to my mind is probably not going to be as funny unless you were there, but I'm going to try my best to explain it anyway. So I obviously love food. I'm a foodie, and I think I've always been this way. We were watching some old videos from when I was like 6 or 7 the other day, and my family and I were at our cousin's, and we were sitting around a bonfire, and my mom was videoing me, and she was like, "What are we doing today?" And me, little 6-year-old me, responded and was like, "Well, we're having hot dogs now, and then we're gonna have s'mores, and then later we'll have a chocolate treat." Kind of like talking about like food all the time. And so now whenever I'm hungry, I'm like, I need a chocolate treat. And my whole family, we all understand what that means. It means I'm getting a little bit hangry. And it's just so funny because now whenever we say chocolate treat, like we all know what we mean. And as I said, you really had to be there to understand it, but that would be the inside joke that has happened the most recently and is one that I really like. All right, we're gonna move on to the next category of questions, which is great questions. Starting with number 1, do you have a significant other? And the answer to that is no. I am 20 years old and I have been single my entire life. I've never been on a date. I've never had a first kiss or anything like that. And honestly, I am happy with it. I have no desire to be in a relationship, and I don't know if that'll ever change. As of right now, I'm happy being single and just spending time with my family and friends and hopefully getting my cats soon. So that's where I'm at with relationships. I am really happy just being on my own for now, and I see myself being that way for a while. Question number 2 is, where did you grow up? So I was born in Brampton, Ontario, Canada, and I grew up in Alliston, Ontario, Canada from the time that I was 2 years old until I think I was 18. And so yeah, I was born and raised in Ontario, Canada, Barrie, Alliston, Brampton area. If anybody's from there, then I probably know that area very well. And then obviously when I was 18, we moved to Hawaii. And then so now in my late teens, early 20s, I'm spending my time in Hawaii and British Columbia. The next question is, who do you live with? So I live with my parents, Rebecca and Jason Overbeck, and my 2 younger sisters, Daisy and Sophie Overbeck. Sophie is 14, Daisy is 17, and then there's me, and I am 20. Good question number 1 is, what are your hobbies? My hobbies, and my mom asked me this the other day, what is something that you do for fun? What are your hobbies? So I would say I love to color. I have a paint or color by numbers book that my dad got me, and it is cats, and I have really been enjoying that. I also love to cook, if that qualifies as a hobby. I love to go for nature walks and to be in nature, anything with animals. I love animals so much. Being with my family, I guess these are not really hobbies, these are just things that I enjoy, but I also would say that social media is a part of a hobby for me. Obviously, some of it is work, but it also is a hobby, and I enjoy editing and creating content and all of that. So that definitely would be a hobby for me. I also don't know if these things are hobbies, but I'm gonna include them. I love anything to do with planning and scheduling and organizing and any of that type of stuff. Like, one of my favorite things to do is on a Saturday morning, I will plan out my upcoming week. Again, I don't know if that's a hobby or not, but it's something that I enjoy. Also, I don't know how I forgot this, but I love to read. Reading is obviously one of my biggest hobbies. My family and I have recently got into tennis, so hopefully you got something from that answer. Next question is, do you collect anything? I don't really collect many things anymore because, again, we live out of suitcases and don't have a house, and so can't really like collect a ton of actual things. I do like to collect stickers. I find that stickers are really fun and I put them on my water bottle. Last year I had a notebook that was full of stickers from all the adventures that we had done, and so I would say stickers are probably something that I collect. I like to collect memories. I know that is kind of cringy, but it's true. And then the third good question is, what are you passionate about? And I have to say that the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about passion and what I'm passionate about is the environment. This is something that I have really come into my passion over the past couple of years. My biggest passion currently in my life is the environment and animals and being as eco-friendly and sustainable as I can. It's something that I really believe in and is very important to me. Other things, I think I definitely have a passion for health, and not only my own health, but for helping other people to see how valuable health is. I definitely have a passion for my family and I love them so much, and I have a passion for us being together and to have happy times and memories together. Those would be my passions. Next, we're moving on to the fun category of questions. And the first fun question is, what is the most ridiculous nightmare you have ever had? And this is an old one that I've had multiple times and I hate it every single time. So we used to obviously run a gym as a family from our basement, and then we built a separate building on our property. And so we would have 15 to 20 classes a week, and I would often teach many of those. And so one nightmare that I had so often, and it's so bad, we teach these classes called fit dance, and so we wear Kangoo jumps or fit boots, and we do choreographed dances to it. And in my nightmare, every single time the room would be full, there would be people there to do the class with us, and the stereo where we would play our music would not work. Either the iPod wasn't working, or the stereo wasn't turning on, or the music would be weird, and the people would be waiting there for like the whole hour for this stereo to work. And it was just so annoying because in the dream I couldn't do anything about it, and the room was full and all these people were getting annoyed with me. And it's not really like a scary dream, it's just very like that feeling where you're like, why am I not doing something? It was like that, and that is a nightmare or a dream that I've had many times, and it's horrible every single time. Okay, we're moving on to the interesting questions, and the first one is, how has your perspective on the world changed over time? And I have to say, my perspective on the world has changed drastically in the last couple of years, especially. Number one, because I'm growing up. I went from being a young preteen, young teenager, to now being 20 years old. So obviously your life and your beliefs are going to change a lot in that time. But also my family and I, we got out of a religion which was very restrictive, and we were held back from experiencing a lot of things. And so in that way, my mind and my eyes have been opened up to so many things and what the world is actually like versus what I thought it was when we were in the religion. I am planning on doing a whole episode on it because I do want to explain my side and kind of what that was like. I will do that eventually, I promise, and go into more detail, but I would say that my view on life and beliefs have changed a lot over the past couple of years. And then the next question is, for what in your life do you feel most grateful? Top two things, actually three things. Number one is, and these are not in particular order, number one is my health. Being healthy is something that I'm so grateful for because I know that it's so easy not to be, whether you are born with certain issue or health concern or whatever it is, or maybe you get it as you grow up, or maybe an accident happens to you, or whatever it may be. And so every single day, I'm just so grateful for this body that I have and that it is healthy and that it's strong, and I never want to take that for granted. Number 2 is my family. Again, something that I know many people don't have good family units or family situations, and I'm just so grateful for my family, the 5 of us, because we are best friends and we tell each other everything, and I'm just so grateful for that. And then number 3 is safety and freedom. Being born in the country that I was, being born in Canada, even though it's not always perfect, no country ever is, it definitely is safer than many other countries in the world, and I'm just very grateful to be able to live here and to have been born here and to grow up here. The next question is, if you could relive one moment in your life, which would it be? And this, I think my whole family and I, we would agree on this moment, and it was our first Christmas. So when we were in the religion, we weren't allowed to celebrate Christmas, and so 2021, or I guess 2020 to 2021 was our first Christmas ever, and it was just so magical. Like being, how old was I? 17, I think? Yeah, 17, 18, and experiencing your first Christmas ever. It was just so amazing. We spent the whole morning opening gifts from and to each other, and our dog Snoop was there, and we had Christmas music playing, and we had so much coffee that day, and it just, like, we felt so, like, just amazing. We felt free, we felt so much love for each other, and it just was such a magical time, and that is one of my favorite memories ever in my life, and I would love to relive that moment and that day if I could. We're moving on to the job related questions now, and the first one is, what is your job? So my job is kind of like 2 or 3 things, I guess you could say. Number 1, my mom and I are online fitness coaches, and so Monday to Friday, every single day, we do a live fitness class. And so either it is our Ultimate Fit Dance or it is a strength class. And we have our live class on Facebook, and our clients join us and we do these workouts together. Along with that, there is daily check-ins and motivation and recipes. So that is like the first portion. Also along with that goes my choreography for our fit dances and the choreography books that I create. So that's all kind of one section of it. Then there is the content creation. So I work with brands and create content for them. If you've never heard of user-generated content before, or UGC, it's kind of like where you take pictures, create videos for brands for them to post. And so that is definitely a section of it. And then I guess the third part, which is not really my job, but is a way that I make some earnings, are through affiliate links and affiliate codes. And so many brands that I work with, they'll give me a code, and then I'll get a commission if the code is used. Along with that, I also post a lot of things on Poshmark, and so I sell extra clothes on there, and that's a way I make some extra money too. So there are a bunch of different realms of ways that I can earn income, and I'm hoping to increase that over the next couple of years. The next question is, if you did not work in this industry, what field would you pursue? Now, the thing is, I've kind of set up my life where I don't have a second option. I have to be honest with you, I've never gone to college, I haven't gone to university, I don't have any degree or any backup plan, which I don't know if that is smart or not. I guess it'll just see how life turns out for me. But at this moment, content creation is my number 1 focus, and on making that more of a job and a career and an income as much as I can. If I were not in that area or that field, I think I would definitely do something with animals. I don't know what it would be. Definitely not like a veterinarian, because I couldn't handle seeing them not well, but something along those lines. I don't know what it would be, but I think either with animals or maybe customer service. I think it would be fun to maybe be a chef or something like that, go to culinary school and kind of explore more what that would be like, work at a restaurant. I think I would really have a lot of fun with that as well. So maybe either of those fields. And the last question in the job category is, what was your first job? When I was 10 or 11 and we had our gym in our basement, a lot of the ladies would bring their babies or children with them to the classes because they were obviously too little at the time and the parents couldn't afford daycare or whatever it was. And so my sister and I, we would take care of the babies and the toddlers if they were young enough. Of course, we were young at the time as well, but we would just sit there and like entertain them and play with them. We didn't make any money from that really for a few years, but then eventually people did start like paying us or giving us some sort of monetary gain, and so that was very nice. Other than that, I then created my cookbooks and I sold those. I also then made a line of spice blends, and so I would sell those in our gym. And then I also did baking orders for people that would come to our gym. So I would make like high protein, low calorie treats, and people would place orders and I would make them brownies and cinnamon buns and cookies and banana bread and all this stuff. So ever since I was little, I have definitely had many different areas where I would work and create revenue and things like that. I think I did a whole episode talking about my entrepreneurial journey. So if you want to check that out, I'll link it down below. But yeah, that's kind of like a little overview of my job experience. I'm going to end off this episode with one last question, which is going to be, where do you see yourself in 10 years? In 10 years time, I'm going to be 30 years old. It's going to be the year 2033. And this is a really hard / interesting question. I know that I want to start doing more activism and start taking more stand for the environment and for animals and for people that are not in as good situations as they should be. I don't know how that's going to work, but I definitely want to start doing that more. I plan on still doing social media and having my podcast and my social media growing as much as possible. And I would love to get to the point where my podcast can be profitable and I can donate to different charities and things like that, donate to the environment and to animals, and maybe that'll be a way that I can help as well. I will hopefully have traveled to Africa and maybe Greece. There are many different places that I want to travel. I'm hoping to have my cats and still to be super close with my family and just to be a more successful and confident and put together version of who I am now, and to be more aware of who I am as a person and what I can do to actually make a difference in the world. And I would say that is what I hope I am, or that's where I hope I am in 10 years. And with that, I'm going to end off this episode here. Thank you so much for watching or for listening, and I hope that you learned a little bit more about me and about what I'm like. I would love to know some more about you. So once you finish this episode, please go to Instagram and either message me about what you're like, what are your interests, what are your hobbies, where did you grow up? All of the questions that I answered, I'd love to know who's listening or watching. You could even comment it on Instagram or comment it on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. I can't wait to hear from you, and I hope to see you in the next episode.